Channel 9.
Good evening. I'm Morton Dean, and this is the CBS Evening News. After traveling thousands of miles, uttering millions of words, making hundreds of promises, the candidates for president and vice president were still traveling and still talking today as the seemingly endless 1984 campaign for the presidency neared its end. It's ending as it began, with polls indicating there'll be no moving vans pulling up to the White House. A poll completed yesterday by CBS News and the New York Times gives the Reagan-Bush ticket 58% of the vote, with 37% going to Walter Mondale and Geraldine Ferraro. The poll indicates Mr. Reagan's support comes mainly because of his handling of the economy and because people tend to feel good about him. Only about 10% say foreign policy is an important factor. We have two reports on the presidential candidates, the first from Bill Plant.
Brimming with confidence, the Reagan campaign mounted a sneak attack this morning, swooping down for an unscheduled stop in Walter Mondale's home state of Minnesota. Aides said it was the only state in which the president was not ahead and suggested the event might just tilt Minnesota to the Reagan column. Sports metaphors abounded at the hastily arranged news conference. Reporters wanted to know if George Gipp, a part Mr. Reagan once played, would have tried to pile on points in the closing minutes of the game.
But I don't think of it as running up the score. The Gipper would never quit before the final whistle.
The president explained that he was joking when he was overheard talking about bombing the Russians during a routine microphone check last summer.
Actually, I meant it as a kind of a satirical blast against those who were trying to paint me as a warmonger.
And he talked of his feelings at the end of this, his last campaign.
It's a little bit mixed emotions. There's a certain amount of nostalgia with it, but it's sort of like you felt in coming up to your last football game of the season and knowing you weren't going to play football anymore.
Because of the unscheduled stop, thousands waited an extra hour for the president at a rally under the St. Louis Arch. But comedian Bob Hope was there to entertain them with jokes about his friend Ronald Reagan.
I'm happy to know that the president stays healthy, and I want to tell you how he stays healthy. Every morning he gets up early and jogs 3 times around Tip O'Neill.
St. Louis and a later stop in Chicago gave the president a chance to be seen all over Illinois, a key state, before he makes his way west tonight for a final swing through California. The president may have mixed emotions as his campaign comes to an end, but his advisors can scarcely conceal their glee over what they think is going to be a landslide victory big enough to claim a mandate. The question that they still haven't answered is what Ronald Reagan will do with the mandate if he gets it. Bill Plant, CBS News, with the president's campaign in St. Louis.
The pastor this morning drew on the scriptures for the most exuberant introduction of Mondale's campaign.
I want to present to you this morning a giant killer. Vice President Mondale, the giant killer.
With that encouragement, Mondale blasted the administration's cuts in social programs, calling the policy one of official cruelty that hurts the helpless and the young.
Someone once said that the deadliest of all possible sins is the mutilation of a child's spirit. And we're doing this all over this country, and this administration ought to be ashamed of itself, because that's not what this country's about.
Mondale's expected to do well among minorities, and today he was clearly preaching to the converted, first before the black audience in Memphis, and then here later in McAllen, Texas, before a largely Hispanic rally, just 10 miles from the Mexican border. Though the president appears to have a big lead in Texas, Mondale's supporters are upbeat about his chances, at least in the Rio Grande Valley, where Democrats say they have won the registration battle. Mondale charged again that the president doesn't care about the people here, doesn't understand people in need. And he promised, if elected, to put a Hispanic in his cabinet.
For too many years, Hispanic Americans have been overrepresented when the medals of honor have been handed out, and underrepresented when running this country is being determined.
Mondale's staff posed in a brave show of confidence this afternoon. Determined to appear equally undaunted by the polls, Mondale flies tonight to California for one last push in the president's home state, more than earning that old nickname, Fighting Fritz. Susan Spencer, CBS News, McAllen, Texas.
Vice President Bush was on the go today, leaving the capital for Illinois and Texas, defending himself against charges that he has a character flaw, charges made by Walter Mondale. A sign of Mondale's desperation, said Mr. Bush. The Democratic vice presidential candidate was campaigning today with the Dewey-Truman race on her mind, with upset on her mind. That story from Jacqueline Adams.
In spite of the polls, the Democratic vice presidential candidate today showed no signs of giving up. She told a crowd at Michigan State she would never trade places with George Bush.
I do have some principles, and I want to stick with them, so I could never be on that ticket with Ronald Reagan at any time.
If you look at the voters through Geraldine Ferraro's eyes, there are reasons to disbelieve the polls. In city after city, she sees tears and pride and unabashed joy on the faces of women. They convince her that there are women who haven't told anyone, including the pollsters, that they will vote Democratic.
Well, many women are beginning to feel that this is their own personal decision that they want to make, independent of their husbands or anybody else. And they're not always talking about it.
If I were trailing, I believe I'd think up something like that, too.
The latest CBS News New York Times poll supports Vice President Bush. Among women voters, Ronald Reagan is the clear favorite, while women have fairly mixed feelings about Ferraro. Nonetheless, Democratic campaign officials believe women voters will turn out to vote for Ferraro in key states. In California, some 2,800 women hope to telephone 200,000 women before Election Day.
And how do you feel about the fact that we have a woman running as candidate for vice president?
As a suffragette 70 years ago, 91-year-old Adele Barnes worked to win the vote for women. Today, though nearly blind, she works daily to win votes for Ferraro.
I, as a loyal Democrat, am holding the belief that she will make it this time. But if she doesn't make it, she will have paved the way.
Their own pollsters say that at best, a hidden women's vote would add only 2% to the Democrats' total, not enough for an upset victory. Yet Ferraro has brought scores of new women into politics. Said one, just the fact that she was nominated gives us hope. We can't lose that. Jacqueline Adams, CBS News, East Lansing, Michigan.
The CBS News New York Times poll indicates Republican prospects have brightened in congressional races. 42% of those polled prefer Republican candidates for the House. 41% favor Democratic candidates. 2,075 registered voters were questioned in the poll, which has a possible sampling error of 2%.
I can't find it.
I'll be home at 10. 9.
Come away to a new High Point and relax. High Point coffee helps smooth out the rough edges, smooth in relaxation, gently washing away not only caffeine, but also bitterness that can interrupt your coffee pleasure. Relaxing moments don't last forever.
Mom, I missed the bus.
New High Point smooths out rough edges, smooths in relaxation.
Thanks to the K, you can't pinch an inch. Thanks to the K, you can't pinch an inch on me.
With the help of the 220-calorie Kellogg's Special K breakfast and those big, crispy, low-sugar, high-protein flakes, I can't think of a tastier or better way to start my day.
Thanks to the K, you can't pinch an inch on me.
India's new cabinet met today, and a commission was named to investigate last Wednesday's assassination of Indira Gandhi. Today, her son, Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, ordered the army to crush any resurgence of the rioting that swept the country. There was some scattered violence today, but tensions seem to ease. Richard Roth has more.
The government relaxed curfew rules in the capital today, urging storekeepers to reopen their stores, and many of them did.
By opening the shops, we'll be normalizing everything here.
A rhythm returned to the streets of Delhi. There was commerce for the first time since Wednesday's assassination and the violent reaction that followed it. Travelers at the city's teeming railway station were still stranded. Most train service has not been restored. Nor is there much traffic on main roads leading to Delhi. Drivers of the trucks that normally carry food are mostly members of the Sikh religious minority, and they're afraid. But there are other ways to haul provisions, and markets were full, even though some merchants were apparently profiting from the disruption of the past few days.
Today I got up and tried to find some supplies, and I have been able to find, but it's very expensive.
Shoppers said prices for basic goods, vegetables, fruit, milk were up 300% or more. Government troops are still patrolling the streets. Officials now say the death toll in Delhi over the past 4 days was 438 people. 379 of them were Sikhs. One Sikh, a high government official, today wrote to his superior insisting on a 2-month leave of absence, as he put it, until conditions are more favorable. Another member of the religious minority said, "We have lost our sense of security." Many Sikhs have also lost their homes. The government says more than 10,000 are currently living in relief centers and refugee camps. How the government will resettle them or even reassure them isn't known. The new prime minister, though, is clearly beginning to establish for himself a distinct public identity. Rajiv Gandhi today was composed and in command as he thanked foreign dignitaries who had traveled here for his mother's funeral, and as he promised India would pursue her ideals.
We will struggle for the rights of the poorer nations, for disarmament, and work for humanity.
The nation remains in mourning as Indira Gandhi's ashes still smolder on a funeral pyre, but India is beginning to look toward its future. Richard Roth, CBS News, New Delhi.
Long before Indira Gandhi was killed, Sikhs who left their homeland had planned to hold their annual parade today, but with the assassination just 4 days ago, the Sikhs gathering took on added meaning. Barry Peterson reports.
We won! It is not New Delhi or Calcutta. It is Yuba City, California. They chant for Khalistan, the homeland Sikhs want from India. The parade celebrates the day in 1708 when the Sikh guru invested his authority into the religion's holy book. This is the 5th annual parade here, perhaps the largest ever.
They're coming here to show their solidarity and get some relief talking to each other.
Everything is going on fine over here. Keep an eye out.
Security was unusually tight, not so much because of the Sikhs. They're considered good neighbors here. Authorities were concerned about any incidents directed against those participating in the parade. The Sikhs settled in this rural area because it is so like the Punjab. Though they live here, tradition transplanted to California soil, their hearts and worries are focused on events in India.
This is a really sad part for us because we got our brothers, sisters, and relatives and that they've been pulling out from the houses and killing them.
For some on this sunny afternoon, the violence half a world away has brought danger and fear.
I have 1 or 2 calls every day since the assassination.
To say what?
That my life is in danger, I am a cadaver, all my family will be killed one by one. What do we want? Palestine! What do we want? Palestine!
And even in this small, peaceful American town, there is the belief that many more will die in India before it is over. Barry Peterson, CBS News, Yuba City, California.
Polish pro-solidarity priest Jerzy Popiluszko was beaten, bound, and gagged before being thrown into a reservoir last week to drown. So said sources today who attended the murdered priest's autopsy. They added that he probably was alive but unconscious when he entered the water. 3 security officers are under arrest, and it's expected they'll be charged with the murder. Masses for the priest were celebrated in churches all across Poland today, while in Warsaw, thousands of mourners filed past the grave where he was buried yesterday.
Suddenly struck me, and I had tears running down my face. I had to pull off to the side of the road.
Come along. We're going to try to find a banker. To be called a banker, you know, you've had to have had very special training in the management of people's money. Don't see any bankers here. Bankers have hundreds of years of banking tradition to back them up. No bankers here. And bankers offer the newest ideas to help your money grow. There is one catch. The only place you'll find a banker is the bank.
A message from America's full-service banks.
When my arthritis kicks up, there's no beating deep heating.
Mentholatum Deep Heating Rub. Penetrating relief to soothe minor arthritis pain for hours.
When my hands are stiff and sore, there's no beating deep heating.
Mentholatum Deep Heating Rub. Penetrating relief to ease the stiffness of minor arthritis pain for hours. Mentholatum Deep Heating Rub or lotion.
There's no beating deep heating.
How do you spell relief?
R-O-L-A-I-D-S. If you got heartburn and you take Rolaids, you get 100% relief because it's gone.
R-O-L-A-I-D-S. I wouldn't use anything but Rolaids.
For millions of Americans, Rolaids spells 100% relief.
When the burning, itching, and soreness of hemorrhoids flare up, Tux medicated pads give you soothing, cooling relief on contact. For hemorrhoid flare-up, get Tux from Park Davis.
An American nightmare began exactly 5 years ago today when Iranians seized the U.S. Embassy in Tehran and doomed the hostages to 444 days of captivity. In Tehran today, the anniversary was a time to renew old hatreds. Thousands of people demonstrated outside the one-time embassy, now headquarters for the Revolutionary Guard. But witnesses said today's anti-U.S. protest was noticeably smaller than in previous years. It's been almost 4 years since the hostages tasted freedom again on January 20th, 1981, Inauguration Day back in the U.S. The freed hostages embarked on new phases of their lives, and Ned Potter tells us how the youngest of them has fared.
Kevin Hermaning was a 20-year-old Marine Guard, the youngest of the hostages. And he says he's learned, as few Americans ever will, what a pleasure it is to do the little things.
444 days of captivity, beatings, intimidation, interrogations, not knowing whether or not we would ever return to the United States of America.
The hostages, of course, did return, safe, alive, and well, to one of the greatest outpourings of genuine emotion in our recent history.
The country, the patriotism was suddenly there. The people were reunited as one.
Today, Hermaning sells advertising. He also gives speeches, nearly 600 since 1981, partly as therapy, he says, and partly as a way of thanking his country.
If I can leave one thought with you tonight, that's it. I hope that you remember that we're free and start appreciating it a little bit more. And remember that even with our problems, the United States of America is still the greatest country in the entire world.
Hermaning says this anniversary is no big deal, and indeed it is passing without ceremony or reunion. But last night President Reagan came to Milwaukee, and Kevin, an active Republican, was there on the receiving line and later at a rally where the president said of him,
"He's traveled in 8 states speaking about his appreciation of America. And Kevin, we appreciate what you're doing for America."
Hermaning ponders running for office someday. But as for what's really important, well, he talks about a car trip he took the first fall he was back home.
I'll never forget it. I looked across the plains and the valleys that are there, and it suddenly struck me, and I had tears running down my face. I had to pull off to the side of the road because for the first time I truly noticed the trees and the leaves changing colors.
That's what you learn to appreciate after 444 days of darkness. Ned Potter, CBS News, Milwaukee.
Spray any air freshener, and what do you get? A wet, misty spray. That's why Renews It invented Fresh and Dry. It's really dry. No wet mist or powder in the air or anywhere. Spray Fresh and Dry anywhere. It's so dry, it freshens the air, your carpet, your upholstery, without wetness. Why spray wet? Spray Fresh and Dry from Renews It.
It's dry. The only air freshener you can spray anywhere.
AT&T is in paper, trucks, software,
How? With a new program called AT&T Opportunity Calling for Business. It can help small business earn $1 credit on these and other name brand products for each dollar spent on AT&T long distance service. That's savings off the best price you can find. Our catalog is coming to your office. Look for it. AT&T Communications. We can help your business in ways you never thought of.
The ground will rumble and shake again this week at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The shuttle Discovery is scheduled to make its second flight on Wednesday. The crew arrived in Florida from Houston today, a crew of 5, including 1 woman. The shuttle will act as a space truck carrying 2 communication satellites into orbit, and it will attempt to become a pickup service, retrieving 2 disabled satellites and bringing them back to Earth for a repair job.
We're very excited about it.
Nicaraguans are voting today for the first time since the Sandinistas overthrew President Somoza 5 years ago. The Reagan administration sees a threat to Central America from the Sandinistas, but a big turnout today pleased the Nicaraguan leaders. Richard Wagner was there.
Despite charges that the lack of meaningful opposition to the ruling Sandinistas makes today's election a foregone conclusion, many Nicaraguans were in line when the polls opened at 7 o'clock this morning. One of the first voters was candidate Daniel Ortega, the leader of the ruling junta, who after today will be President Ortega. He said this was the first time in his life he'd voted, and it was a strange feeling. Definitely not voting today was Arturo Cruz, leader of the anti-Sandinista coalition, which withdrew from the race, charging the Sandinistas with imposing unfair conditions. Cruz met with reporters last night.
I consider that the elections tomorrow are not legitimate, and I consider, therefore, my duty as a citizen not to vote.
To swell the vote total, the Sandinistas have made Army members eligible to participate, and they've lowered the voting age to 16. The young and the military are strong Sandinista supporters. The Sandinistas are also emphasizing achievements even their critics concede. A public health plan the World Health Organization calls exemplary. An education system which has cut illiteracy from more than 60% to 11%, and significant progress in public housing. The Sandinistas claim a large vote for them will demonstrate to the world the legitimacy of their regime, regardless of the withdrawal of their strongest opposition. The Sandinistas have invited some 400 people from more than 40 countries and public organizations to witness the voting. Ironically, the largest delegation is from the United States, where the administration has ridiculed the election as a Soviet-style sham. If the Sandinista leaders are looking for legitimacy today, ordinary Nicaraguans seem to be looking for other things. A man said, perhaps with the election and the help of God, the economic situation here will improve. And this woman said, peace. It may bring peace to us. Richard Wagner, CBS News, Managua.
For 51 days, Mitch Snyder refused to eat. The purpose of his hunger strike, to get the U.S. government to provide $5 million to renovate a Washington, D.C. shelter for the homeless. Today, an agreement was reached. Though the government did not commit a specific amount of money, Snyder ended his fast. The leader of the Community for Creative Nonviolence is now in intensive care at a Washington, D.C. hospital. Snyder will be profiled tonight on the CBS News broadcast 60 Minutes.
I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. And when many adults get a cough, they play doctor at home. They treat their cough with the same medicine they originally bought for their children. They need one of the adult formulas from Vicks for the coughs adults get with the strength adults need. Formula 44 for coughs, 44D for coughs with congestion, and now Formula 44M for coughs with congestion and a raw, irritated throat. The adult formulas. You can't buy anything more effective.
The adult formulas from Vicks, of course.
You're about to see a dishwasher do something absolutely amazing. Clean dishes and save energy too. The Whirlpool Power Clean Energy Saver Dishwasher with a patented washing system that gives you remarkably clean dishes, yet uses 20% less hot water in the normal cycle than any Whirlpool dishwasher we've ever built. And like our washers and refrigerators, it comes with the Whirlpool promise to give you your money's worth and make your world a little easier.
When someone's had a less than perfect day, send a new pick-me-up bouquet from FTD.
Leo, are you in there?
No.
Leo, everybody fumbles the ball.
Not 5 times.
Got a surprise for you. A pick-me-up bouquet from Lois in Des Moines.
5 times in the same quarter.
It's flowers and a rainbow coffee mug and a reusable tote bag so you won't drop it.
Ha ha.
I'll just leave it here for you.
Okay. Merlin, I can't get out.
Lift someone's spirits
Merlin.
with a new FTD pick-me-up
Hey,
bouquet.
Merlin, are you holding the door?
Everyone involved in the political process is looking forward to Tuesday, Election Day. For reporters who have covered the long campaign, it will provide time for lost luggage and lost laundry to find their way back. Bruce Morton has been back on the road one more time, not looking for lost laundry, but looking for some lessons learned about this campaign.
Iowa is where first light breaks in the nominating process, the state that can propel a long shot toward the White House.
Those words and pictures are from a story we did early this year, before the Iowa precinct caucuses formally began the presidential season.
Now that the season is ending, we came back to Iowa to think a little about what we've learned this year. First, we learned it was a hell of a year for balloon salesmen.
All right, here we go. Got the plates there. Here we go. What are we going to give? Do you know 10, 11, 10, 10, 10?
But this is a state with serious problems. Family farms and family tractors on the auction block. Tractor factories laying people off. Did the candidates talk about the problems, the issues? Sometimes they did. But sometimes Walter Mondale seemed to be running as the last New Deal liberal.
I am a People's Democrat.
And sometimes Ronald Reagan seemed to be running as Mr. Stars and Stripes.
The new patriotism is a positive force that unites us and draws us together.
Did the candidates talk about the things the voters wanted to hear about? Sometimes, maybe. Terry Schultz.
I think it's an improvement over the past campaigns where you've seen a lot of popularity contests.
Marlon Bolin.
Well, I don't think it's really changed very much. I don't think that there's ever been an election that I was confused at the beginning of the election and every much so right now.
Kathy Weaver.
I feel as if the debates have been a great help.
Felix Alexander.
A lot of questions have been answered, but a lot of the ones that are really big have not been answered.
Betty King spoke for many.
Yes, it's been too long, drawn out, and too expensive.
The mood in the old town squares which dot this state is mixed. A reporter leaves feeling people here are partly satisfied. They know they have problems the candidates did not address, roads still untraveled, but they are more optimistic, not as angry as they were during the elections of the 60s and 70s. Times are not good here, but some crops are doing well. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Des Moines.
And that's the news. I'm Morton Dean, CBS News, New York. Have a good evening and a good week.
Incredible. In laboratory tests, a liquid antacid that neutralizes acid in less than 10 seconds. Meet Ryapan Plus, sodium-free. In laboratory tests, it neutralizes acid in less than 10 seconds. 10 seconds. And it's sodium-free. No wonder it's doctor recommended. Ryapan Plus. We make a science of fast relief. Ryapan Plus Liquid. Tablet roll pack also available.
Did you hear AT&T has introduced something rather radical? The Reach Out America plan. Calling anywhere in the United States weekends or nights is just $10 an hour. The next is even less. So you can see how far your money goes. Quite ingenious, really. They even have a number for ordering. 1-800-551-3131. Reach Out America. They may be onto something.
AT&T. The more you hear, the better we sound.
I'm Bill Curtis. Tomorrow we'll have an Election Eve wrap-up. And at our 8:30 half hour, Kate Burton. Wake up to what's happening on the CBS Morning News.